Hello? Yeah, okay, yeah. Says we're live. Your activity, stream settings. Oh, those captions. Hey, there's Life. John McDonough. What's up, man? How are you? Begin to think nobody got my live stream notification. Darren Broxton. Apparently, you guys are awake in the UK. Over here in the US, not so much, but even though it's 1:30 in the afternoon. Hobo Roadie, Park Kingery. What's up, fellas? Ian Ray, great show. Keep up the good work. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate that very, very much. Somebody yesterday told me I was the laughing stock of the gear community, and I shared a couple of videos in a group on Facebook this week, and got lambasted over things completely unrelated in both of them. My buddy Lee, who's an administrator in that group, actually had to shut off the comments on one of them because I was getting personally attacked. So that's nice to hear. It was a rough week. Rough week on the old YouTubes. Park's getting ready to go help paint again. Hesher is here. What's up, fellas? Joe Trey. Happy Easter to you as well, sir. Easter's never been my favorite holiday. I don't hate it. It's just not really not necessarily my thing. I don't live for it. 4th of July is my favorite, but which is an American holiday for anybody outside of the U.S. that may not be familiar with it. But it is Easter's very, very important to my wife and her family, so we kind of make a big to do of it. So she's going to come home from work and she'll be baking pretty much. She'll be baking way late. So my job is to stay the hell out of the way, let her do her thing, and when she gets all that stuff together and ready to go, my job is to grab it and put it in the car tomorrow morning and say, where do I need to drive? And that is pretty much how Easter works in our house. So OG says don't like the egg hunt. Yeah, we don't really do the egg hunt anymore, but that is apparently it's obviously a very popular part of it. Fun fact: Easter actually started out as a pagan holiday, I believe. I don't know how it went from a pagan holiday to a Christian holiday, but it did, which is interesting. Park Kingery says, thinking of getting a Direwolf overdrive. Don't think, just do. Just do it. Trust me, you'll be glad that you did. The Direwolf is one of the most awesome, one of the most awesome overdrives I've ever played. The tweakability on it is insane. I mean, all the switches and knobs and modes, and there's all kinds of stuff. So it's a pretty cool design. So especially if you like the Peppers pedal stuff and the transmutation devices stuff, and which I know you do. You know, Jordan's one of those. He's in with that crowd. And knows those guys pretty well. I think Tony Peppers maybe even had a hand in designing the Direwolf too. So, yep. So, yeah, just buy it. It's a little. What is it? What do they sell for? 100. I think they're $189. I think that's what they were when I bought mine. So they're not the cheapest overdrive in the world, but certainly not the most expensive either. You could pay a lot more. Janice Lala is here, and as she's driving, I hope by driving you're paying more attention to the road instead of my live stream. I don't want to be the cause of anybody getting into a car accident. Even though I have hosted my live stream from my car a few times, but I've always been stopped in a parking lot somewhere. Robert O'Brien says, "Have you used a Pure Tone Jack? I bought them for all my instruments, but haven't installed yet. Well, they really improved my Gibsons and American Fender Jacks." I haven't. I have not used them. I don't. To be honest with you, I'm not even familiar with them. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's especially for an output jack on a guitar. I mean, it's a bent piece of metal for the cable to connect to, and that's all it is. So, I mean, the CTS ones have always, been fine for me, but, if you put those in, are you gonna notice a huge difference in tone? I will be really, really surprised if you do. I'll be real surprised if you do, to be honest. So, they're only there as a conductor. That's all it is a conductor to pass signal out of the guitar. So, Park Kingery says, "I just bought a new car, so my gear fund is small now." I understand that. I don't. I've been. I've got my Les Paul fund, which is going untouched, and I got some Amazon gift cards for Christmas, and I sold a few other things. I had some savings in a couple of spots, and sold a few pieces of gear to be able to buy all the components for my new computer that I'm getting ready to build. Matter of fact, the last of which should be showing up here today, according to Amazon. So, assuming they didn't lose the package like they did the first order, which is still out there and floating around in who knows where land. So, but anyway, so all of so I'm tapped out pretty hard right now too. So all of these components, once they're all here, there's going to be a video here in the coming weeks or months or so, and Tony's going to come over and basically he's gonna he knows how to build these things, so he's gonna I say that he's going to help me build it. I think realistically he's probably going to wind up doing most of it for me because I don't know anything about any of this stuff. So he's probably going to do most of the heavy lifting and stuff like that, and I'm going to sit back with a camera and and document it, and then it's going to become a video, and you guys are going to see the finished product when it's all done, and you guys will start seeing more of me back in my guitar room again, as opposed to out here at this desk. Let's see. Park Henry's Switchcraft I use when it's time to replace the old jacks. Or yeah, I said CTS earlier. Switchcraft I think is the one I was talking about. But not that there's much difference between the two. I mean, half the time, like the thing with a lot of guitar parts like that, even if you buy like an all parts or something, half the time or more than that, it's it's a repackaged CTS pot or it's a repackaged Switchcraft switch or something like that. So yeah, it's kind of like cables. Yeah, there are some really cheap cables out there that are probably not recommended that you use. But but the sonic difference when I plug in this $70 Mogami cable versus this $14 Pig Hog cable, is there really that much of a difference in tone? At the end, no, I don't know, man. At the end of the day, it's copper wire. Yes, the alloys used to make the Mogami are going to be purer and of higher quality, which is where really where most of the difference is supposed to come from. But in a 10-foot run of cable plugged into an amp practicing at home, is there any difference? Nah. I think even on like a 25-foot run of cable, on a live stage, the difference in sound is going to be nominal at best. JG Mopar is here. What's up, dude? Skilled Rook, Fat Philosopher, Serenity Guitars, Darren Broxton. I think Darren's been here for a bit already. Welcome to everybody. Hope everybody's having a happy Saturday. Skilled Rook says, any advice on how to get into 7 or 8 string guitars? Well, if you do what I do, then you buy a baritone 6 string. Which is what I did because I don't like 7. 7 strings are one of those things I've kind of always wanted to have one laying around just for the the rare occasion I've needed one. But I don't want to buy a cheap one. I don't want to buy a cheap guitar just for that purpose. That I know I'm not gonna because if I'm not gonna like it that well, I'm never gonna pick it up and use it when I do need to. But at the same time, spending the money on on a higher quality instrument for that purpose doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense either. Anyway, so that's one reason why I went baritone. But 8 strings, I unless you're Tosin Abasi, or somebody like that, I can't. 8 string guitars are no thanks. I mean, if you needed to that low, buy a bass. The other thing, they're uncomfortable as hell to play with that giant fretboard that feels like a telephone pole. That even if it's a thin neck, it just it's just uncomfortable, and people get used to it. So if that's if you really want to get into that, really the best way to do it is just buy one and just get used. See if you can get used to the extended range on it. If you just want the lower register and you don't really want to learn to you don't want to go through the growing pains of getting used to it, or you're afraid that you're not gonna that your 6 strings aren't gonna feel right after you do, which was my concern. Then I'd recommend getting a baritone. Fat Philosopher says, fun fact, Easter is actually the German pagan goddess of spring. I mentioned that earlier, that Easter actually, fun fact is Easter actually started out as a pagan holiday. How it transitioned to a Christian holiday, I don't know. I'm not that I don't know much on the history of it, and quite honestly don't really have that much of an interest, but I do know that much. Serenity Guitars says, happy Easter weekend. What you building came in late. Building a new PC for recording and audio production. So this is my, this one is, has served me pretty well. It's a couple years old now. This is a refurbished Dell that I bought off of Amazon for $400 and had some pretty strong specs on it for $400. And I'm not gonna get rid of it either. By the way, it's still gonna stay right here, and it's still gonna get used. But I want a computer dedicated to recording and and dedicated to video production. So, and I want it to be back there in my guitar room instead of out here. So, I bought a new desk that I got to put together, and I got to move a bunch of stuff around. Sold a few things to make some make some space. And I have to move some pedal shelves around and stuff. I got a lot of work to do before I'm even ready to start putting it together. And because of scheduling things, this weekend obviously is Easter. Next weekend is the Indiana Guitar Show here in Indianapolis, and I haven't decided if I'm going to go yet or not. But Tony is going to be there, so I told that is about as far away from from me in the city as you can get. I was like, dude, don't drive all the way up here after that. Let's do it the following weekend. So it's going to be a few weeks before we get to that point, which is fine because I'm going to need that much time to prepare for it anyway. But the short answer to your question is I'm building a new computer, which I've never done before. So, and it's just a matter of waiting for the rest of the components to show up here. At my front door. Most of it is here. There's still a few things that have not arrived yet, that should have arrived already because Amazon lost the damn package. So they replaced it. They ordered another one, so now it should be here today. Any time now, as a matter of fact. JG Mopart hitting up the PayPal account again. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Appreciate your support. While I'm thinking about it, if you want to support the channel, if you want to support what I do, you can also do so. There's a link to my PayPal account down there in the description of pretty much all of my videos. If you want to just eliminate the middleman, or you can hit the little $ icon thing down there at the bottom of the chat. Or if you want to get something out of it yourself, you can click the link up there at the top of the chat box to my Teespring shop and buy yourself a T-shirt. So, among other things. Anyway, all the support that I get from you guys, that stuff all goes right back into the channel. So that's what kind of allows me to keep this thing perpetually running and evolving and et cetera, et cetera. Let's see. Darren Broxton says, Robert, do you have any experience of the Yamaha Revstar RS620 series? That particular model, I can't remember which one that is. The Revstars are awesome, man. I mean, if you're on the fence about whether or not you should buy one, don't quit. What is it? RS620. Which one is that? Is that the P90 one? Or is that that's the neck through one, isn't it? Yeah, that's the expensive one. No, it's not. The RSP20CR is the expensive one. The 620 is... which one? Okay, that's the dual humbucker. Is that the set neck or the bolt-on? There's a bunch of... Okay, it's a set neck version. Yeah. Regardless of which version it is, I mean, literally, if it's Yamaha, buy with confidence, and anything really. But with the Revstars, the Revstars have been on my wish list for pretty much since they came out. I would really like to have one of those guitars. I think they're really, really well made. Of course, everything Yamaha is well made, but yeah, if you're thinking about buying one of those, I mean, I'd just do it. I think you'll enjoy it very, very much. The Revstars have done really, really well for Yamaha. So, pardon me. Savannah Guitar says, love the BC Rich, the red BC Rich, and the tone you had when you flying with Max. When am I? I'm flying. I didn't know I was flying with Max anywhere. That was it was a start of a new video series. I haven't found any other takers on yet. Unfortunately, that it's probably not something I'm gonna do every other week or every month or something like that. It's one that I'll do every now and again when there's another creator out there that I'd like to collaborate with that has the time to do it, because it's time consuming. So yeah, he was gracious enough to to contribute, and honestly, that video came out as well as it did, mostly because of him, and his ideas. My initial ideas were pretty plain Jane, and looking back, honestly, pretty terrible. And he's the one that came back and said, before, this is your deal, and I don't want to step on any toes here or anything. I'm cool with whatever, but maybe we should consider doing this, because if you don't, I think it could be could really be a missed opportunity for you. And, and I thought about it. I was like, he's very, very right here. So, and he was willing to. I guess the reason why I didn't ask him to go that far is because I didn't want to impose on his time so much after he had agreed to collaborate with me. So, but turned out he wanted to put out a great product too. And so yeah, hats off to Max for that video turning out as well as it did. God, that guy can play too, man. God, he's good. Robert O'Brien says, yeah, I'm a little leery about switching out all my Switchcrafts, but they seem nice in videos and we're on a good sale. Honestly, what I would do, switch out one. See if you notice a difference. Switch out one. And if you don't notice the difference after that, then, take the rest of them and, stick them in a box somewhere and keep them, for when you need output jacks on, for guitars, at some point in the future. But, if you do notice a difference, then change the rest of them out. But, like I said, in my experience, I don't think you're going to be able to tell much. Jack Collins is here. Fat Philosopher says, love the Yamaha distortion video. Thank you. That thing came out, that pedal has never sounded that good in the entire time that I've had it, ever. Every other time I've plugged it in, it sounds like complete dog shit. And has for 30-something years I've owned that pedal. I've never gotten along with it. And all of a sudden, the one time I do a video on it to show how much it sounds like shit, it, finally decides to grow a backbone. Oh well, maybe it'll drive up the value of it. Or maybe it's me. I don't know. Maybe it's been, that was the first time I've ever ran it into an amp that went direct into an interface instead of through a speaker cabinet. So I don't know. Maybe I've been trying to play it through lousy speaker cabinets or speaker cabinets it doesn't get along with all these years. Who knows? Not that that's far from the only terrible distortion pedal on the planet, though. Hint, hint. Hobarodi says the cable capacitance tone is not cost dependent, reliability more so. That is true. Yeah, that is one thing I did neglect to say. When I was talking about the difference between this $70 Mogami cable and this $14 Pig Hog cable, the difference in sound, it may not be all that much, but I would be remiss to say that the Pig Hog cable is not built nearly as well as the Mogamis are. Mogamis are built like tanks; they never short out. That's one reason why I've been using them for as long as I have, and rarely have had to replace any. JG Mopar says, I prefer my baritone over my 7-string. I was real. The first time that I recorded with my baritone, as you guys know, I have that Chapman ML1 baritone, and the first time I recorded with it, I was real glad I went that route instead of 7 strings. The other thing about baritones, that Chapman model in particular, because it's got I think it's a 28-inch baritone scale, as opposed to, most baritones are usually like 27, 27 and a half. This one's 28, so it's a little bit longer, which means it's going to have more tension on the strings. So one advantage baritones do have over 7 strings and 8 strings is that low string, that low B string. That added scale length puts more tension on it, and it doesn't sound nearly as flubby as the low B on a 7-string does. That's another reason why I haven't, why I don't gravitate towards 7 strings, is because that low string is so freaking muddy sounding, and it's, so you either got to put power cables on there for strings, and even see if that fixes it, or, if you don't like real heavy strings like that, which I don't, I think they're just uncomfortable for me to play. I don't know. The benefits of a baritone for me were far greater than the need to buy a 7-string. So I am going to have to get myself a 5-string bass to go along with it, though, at some point. Right now, I have one on hand that is on loan from a friend, and it is a very, very nice bass. But I don't have the money to buy this thing from him, and I'm not sure that he'd want to sell it anyway. It's he's in the middle of moving from here. He's moving out of state. He's back and forth quite a bit right now, and this being one of his more valuable instruments, he thought it'd actually be a good idea to keep it here. Let me use it for a few months while he's doing it. So, and also $300 for a watch. Fat Philosopher says, question, I've seen Telecasters with a hot rail pickup. The hot rail pickup I'm assuming in them, but still have the ashtray bridge. Does that make any sense? And who knows? I mean, I don't know if there's a production model out there. They may have done a custom shop, like a 52 reissue or something. I've seen several 52. They did do, and they might still make the 52 reissue that has the Seymour Duncan, the mini humbucker in the neck. There may be a custom shop version of a Tele somewhere, like a vintage style Tele that's got a hot rail in the bridge. That I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if they'd done something like that, but I'm willing to bet most of the time when you see something like that, though, it's somebody's personal mod project. So, I mean, Fender takes the Tele sound pretty seriously, and they rarely send those things out of the factory with anything but a single coil in the bridge, regardless of what style of bridge it has on it. Majestic PB&J is here. Let's see, and the stupid chat jumped all the way down to the bottom as I was reading. There we go. Majestic PB&J Cats has been playing 7-string for 15 plus years, used to it, but I'm transitioning back to 6. Interesting. I'd be curious. I'm curious to hear why you're transitioning back to 6. Not that I think there's anything wrong with that one, right or wrong with it one direction or the other. I mean, everybody's different. So, I mean, I'm not telling anybody what I think they should or shouldn't play. I'm just telling you what I think I should be playing. But I am curious. Most people that are diehard 7-string players are diehard 7-string players. So I'm curious what's making you transition back to 6-string. That's interesting. Let's see. Mike Jones says, I rented a baritone for that reason. Only $40 for the month, and it was Danelectro. surprisingly good. The wide range made easier to cord up the neck. Yes, I guess that's another reason why I like them, is because I can, it's playing chords is the same. I don't have to worry about muting, positioning a finger right to mute an extra string that I'm not used to being there or something like that. Yeah, so yeah, I'm a six string guitar player. That's what I am. Fat Philosopher says, when I had a business trip to Canada, I was surprised to see you could rent guitars. Great idea. Wish they had that in Japan. I'm kind of, as a guy that works for an MI retailer. Uh, I'm kind of glad we don't have that here in the U.S. because renting guitars. There's God, as careless as guitar players are with shit that doesn't belong to them. Man, that would cost us a lot of money in the long run. Svenny Guitar says that's way above me. Also, explain more on Guitar Show. If you're talking about my computer, my PC build, I'm actually going to document it, and there will be a video on it. So you guys will get to see everything that I bought, all the components that I bought for it that are going into it, all that stuff. So. And like I said, basically it's going to be a matter of sitting back, turning on the camera, and getting the hell out of the way. Let Tony do his thing. So that dude is a savant when it comes to electronics, and I don't, my brain does not function on the same level as his when it comes to things involving electronic operation or electricity moving through them of some kind. Yeah, he's a brilliant dude, man, and a great friend. I'm very fortunate to have him in my life. Let's see. Skilled Rook says I got one of the older Dimebag Washburn guitars with the graphics on them. Those are cool. For my birthday, plays really well. Plays really good. I should pull mine out and give it some love. Mine spends most of the time hanging on a wall because mine's one of the cheaper ones. I think I only paid like $250 for it. Brand new. Mine's the 332 model. The plain black one. And at the time that I bought that guitar, I played a lot. I loved that thing. I did change out the pickups on it, and a couple of other. I guess that's all I did on that one was change the pickups. But I should pull it out and give that one some, set it back up and give it some love sometime. So it's not just wall art at this point. Those old Washburn Dimebag guitars are cool. If you find the trick with those, you really hit pay dirt if you find one of the ones, because on the headstock you got the Washburn logo, and the classic open V headstock, that they clearly ripped off from Dean. So you got the Washburn logo, that runs across it, and then right below that, most of them are say Dimebag Darrell signature or signature model or something. The early ones, the few early ones, say Diamond Darrell. Like the which he didn't Dimebag didn't become Dimebag until about Far Beyond Driven. The first two Pantera albums, he was known as Diamond Darrell. So finding one of the Washburn signatures that says Diamond Darrell on it, those are hard to find. Same guitars, just the wording on it's different, but it's still pretty cool when you find them. I remember it took me a long time to get used to calling him Dimebag, because I've been calling him Diamond Darrell for years, since I'd heard of the guy. Jaron, forgive me if I mispronounce this. Jaron Hoffman's. I'm sure I've heard of that pronunciation. I apologize. Says, hi, do you believe if it is harmful to when a guitar tube amp is on, so not on standby, and you don't play it to switch from cab, since it is harmful when you do play it without a speaker connected? I don't see where it's being a good idea because if you disconnect it, you know even if it's not being played, um, if it's on, I guess let me. I want to be clear about what it is that you're asking me. If you got a tube amp that's turned on and you disconnect it from the speaker cabinet, the actual disconnecting it from the speaker cabinet is obviously could make a loud popping noise be the last thing to come out of the speaker cab in that instance. And in that you could do some pretty serious damage to the cab in that instance. As well as the head, because all of a sudden, that's that signal passing through the amp that isn't, all of a sudden doesn't have anywhere to go. Is it gonna do any serious damage? I don't know. That's unless it's an amp that has a built-in load box, I wouldn't run the risk. I wouldn't run the risk at all. Keep it plugged into a cab or a load box or something. Tube amps have to have something to handle the load. That's the way that they're designed. That's the way they work. So, even if you're not plugged into them, not sending signal into it, if they do have something in place, a cab or a load box or something to handle a load, and you leave it turned on, I don't know how many times I've walked away and left this Laney amp on for hours, or I've even left it on overnight a couple of times, and it's been fine. It hasn't done anything to it. So if there's if there's something there in place to handle the load, you should be fine. But I wouldn't mess with any situation at all with a tube amp, especially if it's an expensive one that involves the amp not having a load, not having something to handle the load. So. Stay Curious says, I know the Friedman amps are great, but why do you think it is that I see so many of them on Reverb? What do you think it is about it that turns people off about them? I don't think it's so much the fact that it turns people off about them, that people are turned off about it. I think they're great amps. People play those things love them. I got a good buddy of mine that's been into Friedman amps for years now. I think he got into him because he's a big Mastodon fan. So, of course, Bill Keller's been playing him for years. It's just like anything else. Friedman they've gotten a lot bigger in recent months. So, yep, there's my package. I'm gonna get up here in just a second. Friedman has gotten a lot bigger as a company, over the last several years. Certainly the last 10 years, but even the last 5 years, they've really taken off. And the more a company grows like that, the more their production increases, the more people buy their products, the more of their products are out there in the wild. So. It's just like anything else. You can always find a used Marshall out there because they're huge and they've built a gazillion of them, unless it's something that's was specifically a really, really short, limited run. But for anything else, raise your hand if you've ever had trouble finding a used Marshall Plexi finding a Marshall Plexi in the used market. They're out there everywhere, despite the fact that it's, brand new. They're $3,000 amplifiers. They're just everywhere. So, the short answer is, supply and demand. So I never hear anybody getting rid of them because they don't like them. I hear people getting rid of them because, it's a good sounding amp. It's just not what I needed or what I was looking for, whatever it was, and in that instance, for a lot of people, it doesn't make sense to have $3,500 tied up in an amp that isn't doing what you need it to do at this moment. So they move it on. I don't think it's any reflection on build quality or, people dumping them because they suck or anything else. I don't think it's any kind of reflection on that. I think it's just a result of more amps being produced and, the people, that's the other thing you got to consider. People that buy Friedman amps, some of those people are some of the most goddamn pickiest guitar players you have ever seen in your life. And, and they complain about every single little teeny tiny little nuance about it that they can find. I have a theory some of them do it just for just for an excuse to sell it and go buy something else because they like buying gear, and I understand that. I get that. I like buying gear too. But then you got other people that are just can't make up their freaking minds, or they think their shit don't stink when it comes to Guitar Tone, and which I'll never understand that either. But yeah. Let's see here. Paul Fuchs says, hello, Robert's Guitar Dungeon. I looked into an advanced Noventa Telly. It's the real deal. Rocks the cosmos. I am not familiar with what is the Noventa Telly? You guys know I'm not much of a Telly guy, so I don't follow those very close. Noventa Telecaster. Auto-populates in Google. Single... Looks like a single P90 Telly with, a quarter of a pick guard. 2 knobs. Vintage style, strat style hardtail bridge. By the looks of it. Let's see if I can get a closer. Yeah, let's go to Chicago Music Exchange's website. Nope, I'm sorry. That's got the vintage Telly style bridge on it, kind of or half of it anyway. It's got the vintage saddles. $949, maple neck, and I'm assuming probably made in Mexico, but that's okay. Ah, cool. Fiesta red and natural, looks like, or blonde, or. That's natural for all intents and purposes. Cool, man. Awesome, dude. Congratulations. Congratulations. I don't know if those are limited or not, but certainly looks cool. A little bit different spin on a Telly from Fender. So especially under $1,000. Let's see. JC Guitarist says, hey, Robert, first time catching a live stream. Love the channel. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for popping in to hang out. This is live streams on this channel are a little bit different from the rest of the videos. I tend to have a set regimented system of the way that I do things when I'm producing regular videos. Live streams is just a chance for me to sit down and hang out with you guys. That's I smoke my e-cig when I'm sitting here, and I'm drinking sodas, and I'm gonna get up here in a second to go grab my package off the front door. It might be a little bit different from what you see in my other videos, but like I said, it's just this is just an opportunity for me to sit here and hang out with you guys and answer whatever questions that you may have of me, if anything, and. That's what we do here on Saturdays. Speaking of, also, if you guys want to, I mentioned this earlier, but for those of you that may not have been in here yet, if you guys want to support the channel, you can certainly do so. Support the channel and what I do. You can hit the little $sign icon down there at the bottom of the chat. You can hit the little the link to the Teespring shop up there at the top of the chat. I think they actually YouTube actually added a new store tab on the channel as well. So for people that have the Teespring creators that have the Teespring shops linked to it, you can go there and see everything's in my shop all in one place. And of course, last but not least, there is the PayPal link in the description of this pretty much every video if you want to go and eliminate the middleman altogether. So any support you guys are willing to offer is a big help and greatly appreciated. I am going to recognize JG Mopar because he's been he's been very supportive here recently, among others. He's not the only one, but he's been very supportive and really seems to. I'm saving up for my lifelong dream of owning a Les Paul Custom. I want to buy that thing this year, and I'm probably about as close to being able to do so, if not more so, than I've ever been. So I'm bound and determined to make it happen this year. And I have promised anybody that has anybody that has helped me get a hold of that thing that they get to play it. So and Timothy Plonk in the super chat. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Wonder why that didn't make the annoying noise here on my computer. Oh well. Let's see. Where was I? Javon B231 says, I got my MBD20 in Thursday. I haven't plugged it in yet. Did you buy one after seeing my video on it? Oh, man. If you did, man, I hope you enjoy it. Maybe it's your deal. Maybe it'll be your thing. Like I said, I hang on to mine mostly for nostalgic reasons because that was my first distortion pedal. Despite the fact that it's that I never did really like it. But at this point it's technically a vintage piece. So I had that thing sitting in a box for years, didn't look at it for years, and then later on down the road after things started, after import things started moving out of Japan, production started moving out of Japan and into other areas like Taiwan and China and Indonesia and places like that, and had been that way for a while. Most everything that you saw back at that time was starting to come out of those places. So I pulled this thing out of the box and realized and realized at the time, because I got that thing when I was like 10 years old. So I saw it made in Japan on the back and I was like, holy shit, this is a made in Japan pedal. I mean, I should hang on to this, and I have. I don't know. Maybe somebody will put a video up on that thing or record a song with it or something that'll turn it into the next HM2. Just a few years ago, I had a chance to buy an HM2 for like $80, and I passed on it because I thought that was too high at the time. And at the time, I'm still not. It wouldn't have been a bad price, but it wouldn't have been a great price. So I passed on it and I didn't buy it. Now those things are going for $250. Stupid. Pay the frickin' money, Robert. Guitar Gear Guyan says, hey, glad I caught the live stream. Have you tried Animal Factory amp pedals yet? They are some of the best fuzz and distortion pedals I've ever tried. Are they, there's, I don't know if it's, I'm familiar with a company called Animal Pedals, or Animals Pedals, Animal Factory Pedals. I don't know if this is the same company or not. Let's consult Mr. Google. Bizarre, Beautiful Sonic Beast from Bombay, India. Nope, those are, well, that's a PCB. Well, maybe not. Maybe, okay, I need photos, and what the hell does this thing do? Okay, that's not a pedal. That's like some weird rack mount module thing. Yeah, regardless, this is not the company I thought it was. This is somebody totally different. Nope, these are new to me. I'm not seeing these at all. Baron Samedi Fuzz, Baron Samedi Fuzz, the Pit Viper Overdrive. It's got, which looks like it's got two, Coma Reactor delay module. Okay. I need a catalog. There's a few others. Okay, so for pedals, Animal 4, that's the Baron Samedi. That looks like the Fuzz. They got one called the Chemical Burn, which is sold out. What does that do? Blister PF. What is this thing? That's Fuzz. Okay. And then there's the Pit Viper, which has a couple of switches. And I think that's like I said, that was an overdrive, right? Yep, that's an overdrive. 2 switches, and here I'll tell you what. Let me show you guys what I'm looking at. I'm sorry. Display. There's the Pit Viper. So it's got a couple switches and 3. Actually, it's got 4 switches, 3 knobs, all different kinds of clipping stuff. $184. A little pricey for a company I've never heard of. Okay, and like I said, all this other stuff. I don't know if these are parts or I don't know. Interesting. Alrighty. Nope. I'm not familiar with those, so that's the first I have. I think the first time I've ever really taken a look at them. They look cool. I don't know anything else about them, so I haven't heard any of them yet. But let's see. Guitar Gear Guyan says I have a Jeff Loomis 7-string, but I want to try baritone. I use 0.54 on the B string, and it sounds gentlemanly chuggy. Honestly, if even on the Jeff Loomis 7-string, if you're using a 54 on the low B, which really isn't that heavy, that's pretty light for a low B, to be honest. Maybe not. I guess it's pretty average. You ought to try a baritone of some kind. I think you might actually like the way that sounds a little bit better. Park Kingery's going to paint. Guitar Gear Guide says, guys, make sure to press the like button. Thank you, sir. JG Mopar says the Richie Kotzen Telly is a hot reel. That's right, I forgot about that one. That one does have a hot reel in it. I'm not real big on Tellys, but I gotta admit that that Richie Kotzen Telly, that thing's cool. That is a really, really cool guitar. Pedal Boards of Doom is here. What's up, Lee? Says, hello, my dude, listening to you while I'm DIYing. My question is, does mixing up pickup types give too much inconsistency in tones when from the same guitar? If by pickup types, if you're referring to like humbuckers versus single coils, in the same guitar, I don't think so at all. I like guitars. Part of me kind of regrets selling my Vester because that one had a humbucker and 2 single coils in it. Part of me regrets selling that because there was something really cool, really unique about having a fairly hot humbucker in the bridge, and then a really clean sounding lower output single coil in the neck. I think it made, for my purposes, my playing purposes, I think it kind of added to the versatility of that guitar a little bit. I still have an Aria Pro 2 that I've had since 1991. It's an I think 91 or 92. I think it was 91. My parents bought that for me for my 14th birthday, so yeah, that'd be 91. Anyway, but I've had that guitar for 30 years now, and that one's, I should play it more because it's for that same reason. The neck pickup actually sounds really, really good, but too much inconsistency? Nah, I don't think so at all. I think it's more versatility in a guitar. I don't think is ever a bad thing. So I don't think it's ever a bad thing. Guitar Gear Guy says, do you play a lot of acoustics? Never seen you demo one on the channel. I've demoed a couple. Most notably, I demoed the Yamaha A1R acoustic, which I do have. And I do really, really like that guitar. But I mean, I've got, I think, 3 acoustic guitars, and one of them belongs to my wife because it was a gift from her dad when she was a kid. The other 2 are mine. There's the Yamaha, and I also have a Silvertone Paul Stanley signature acoustic that, it was a cheap acoustic, but it sounds good. And I bought it because I'm a diehard Kiss fan. I had to have it. It's that is now my couch guitar for when I'm chilling on the couch and just want to reach over and grab a guitar and strum a little bit. Yeah, those are the only acoustics I own. I like acoustics. I like acoustics quite a bit. I mean, I'd really like to have a nice Taylor, and a nice Martin. I love both of those companies a lot. But I'm not. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm primarily an electric guitar player. I mean, acoustic guitar is likely never going to be my main instrument. So I like acoustics. I love acoustics, but I'm an electric guitar guy. Let's see. I'll tell you what, guys. You hold that thought. I'm going to run downstairs and grab this package off the front porch. I'll be right back. Alrighty, and it has arrived. So, you guys care to see what's in it, or do you guys just want to wait for the video? Do you guys have any interest? Do you not care at all? Or rather, forget about it. Let me know. I'll sit down here next to me if you guys want to check out what's in it. If you have any interest, I'll show you. Alrighty, where was I? OGOG says Long and McQuaid program talking about renting guitars. Don't know crap about it, but my 2 cents. I think it's for your standard beginner guitars. Long and McQuaid are supposed to be a pretty good outfit, man. I've never been to Canada, much less ever been to one of their stores, but my understanding is they're a pretty good company up there. JD Mopar says, I need a 5-string bass too. I was looking at the new Squier Contemporary 5-string. I don't want to pay a lot for an instrument. I don't play a lot. Do you know of any lower priced 5-string bass? Yes, I would recommend, depending on what you mean by lower priced, the Squier Contemporary 5s, what are those, $400 or something? So let me share my screen with you guys again so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Let's just go to Guitar Center's website. Squier Contemporary bass guitar. Those are, so for what's the 4-string? So you're $400 or $500 anyway for that price. With active pickups, not bad. Honestly, for that kind of money, I would rather. In that price range, anyway, I think they're a little bit more expensive. I would rather have that guy. I'd probably go for that finish myself, but that is probably the direction I would go. Those basses are killer because they're, it's that switch right there switches it back from active and passive, or active or passive, as well as all kinds of other tonal options. Those humbuckers are also a pretty big bassy boomy sound. So there are 2 basses that I have on my wish list. The 4-string version of this, and I'd like to have a good jazz bass laying around somewhere, just because I like the jazz bass sound. But yep, if it were me, that's what I would look at. I've been really, really impressed with those basses. The Ibanez makes a ton of different bass models as well. I'm sure you might be able to find what you're looking for or find something that you know that would be appealing to you in their line as well. So. All right. Well, let's see. Where are we? Oh, I lost some viewers. Looks like when I got up, so it looks like some other people did too. I'm gonna keep moving through the chat here. J Van B231 says, "Wouldn't the lack of load change the plate voltage of the tubes?" I can't answer that, unfortunately. I am not an amp technician at all. You know, I am not. I do not possess the knowledge regarding that particular, in that particular area. I assume that it would, but again, I don't know. Joe Trey says, "Hey Robert, I haven't had to replace any tubes in my amps yet. What's the first thing I'll notice when the tubes start going bad?" Your power tubes are gonna start dying before your preamp tubes will, usually in most cases anyway. But the first thing you'll probably notice is your tone starting to deteriorate. If you plug into it one day and you're noticing this thing just doesn't, for some reason, just doesn't sound as good as it used to, and I've got it set up the same way I always have. Might be time for new tubes, maybe. So usually it's usually when you start seeing your tone deteriorate, but. If you don't know, don't just pop a new set in there because, especially if you don't know what you're doing, because without it being biased properly. So, if you got to pay somebody to do it, it's money well spent. Pedalboards of Doom says the energy will find a route into the amp's components and screw it up big time. There you have it. So, yeah. So, yep, don't do it. Svenny Guitar says, "When is the guitar show?" The week from tomorrow, I believe. So what would that date be? The 4th? So that's what, the 11th? Yeah. So I think it's the 11th. I think it's out in Danville, Indiana, which is way out on the west side. Brian Casey says, "I just dropped a piece of pizza on the kitchen floor. Would you still eat it?" I don't know. I've never seen your kitchen floor. Probably not. JD Mopar says 5-second rule. If it was the last piece I would eat, if there are more, switch out so someone else eats it. Oberodi says, "Discovered they don't want 50 watts, question mark." Forgive me, I don't know who they are or what you're referring to. Let's see. JD Mopar says, "I want to see that guitar in your hand." Which guitar are you talking about? My baritone? No, you're talking about my Les Paul. You're talking about my Les Paul, or not? It's not mine yet, but the Les Paul Custom that I want. So, you have my word, sir. I am working very, very, very hard to make that happen. Put your thumbs up, Robert. There's a thumb. From Paul Fuchs, I think he was actually telling people to hit the like button on the video, which if you do is very, very much appreciated. So, the more activity, it's appreciated on every video because, YouTube, or the dislike button. If I pissed you off to the point that you need to hit the dislike button, feel free to hit that one too. YouTube views both of those the same. So, but more activity on a video, the more, they blast it out to a larger audience, and the channel can continue to grow. Let's see. JG Mopar says if you want a cheap alternative to the HM2, the Behringer HM300 is really close. I own both, and it's basically the same thing for $25 new. I've got a couple of HM2 clones. I have the TC Electronic iMaster, which is, I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's an HM2, but without the two EQ controls. Beyond that, it's pretty much the same pedal. So, if you're going to, I think the reason why they took those off of it is because they anticipate most people buying it to dime it out anyway. So, but I have that one, and the other one that I have actually is one called the Soul Stealer from Park's Custom Pedals. Park built that and sent that one to me a couple of years ago. So, I mean, I have the HM2 sound, but I don't have an actual HM2, which I would like to have one, if nothing else, just a demo, against those other two pedals. But, I think probably the reason why I want one more, though, even though I hate the sound of that pedal, is because it's just because it's a Boss pedal, and I love Boss pedals. And that'd be a good one to have for the collection that all of a sudden is a lot harder to find than it used to be. Let's see. Archer is here. Mango Berry is here. Welcome, guys. Mango Berry says, would you recommend an Aria Pro 2 if I could get one in 2021 or later? Would it be better than a budget guitar like Squier or Epiphone? Sometimes they pop up in the used market. That's actually one of the nice things about the Aria Pro guitars, Aria Pro 2s, is they don't sell for very much at all in the used market. Even made in Japan models from the 80s and 90s, you can find those dirt cheap, like $200 or $300 on the used market. So mine's a Korean model, I think, but but still a very, very well-made guitar. Far better than what you're gonna, than I think what you're gonna get at a Squier in the same price range nowadays. So, although the Squier guitars are they've come a long way. Those are a lot nicer than they used to be too. So, but yeah, if it were me, if I had the option to buy an Aria Pro 2 guitar, one that a model that I liked or something, over a Squier or an Epiphone, a current one, in the same price range, I'd go with the Aria Pro 2, no question. So, condition pending, of course. So, got to be. I don't want one that's had the living shit beaten out of it, but. Skilled Rook says, thoughts on learning guitar out of books. I think there's something to be. I mean that's how I learned. I learned from one-on-one and lessons, face-to-face lessons from an instructor. Vincent was he was my guitar teacher for years. I wouldn't be able to play half as well as I do. Not that I play that great, but the vast majority of what I learned from Vincent. Great guitar player. So there's and I think probably not only did I walk when I was done taking lessons from him, and I did that for like 5 years. Not only when I was when I had arrived at the conclusion that I've learned everything I could learn from him. Not only was I a much better guitar player, but I think more importantly than that, he and I kind of formed a bond over those years together, and we're still friends today. So. But that's it. But he would tab out. Whatever it was that he was if he was teaching me a song or a solo or something like that, he would write it all out on tablature himself. And I still have every single one of those tabs. I still got them all. So I think they're still tabs are still helpful. They're still handy to have laying around, especially if you don't have access to YouTube or whatever your video video source of choice might be for guitar instruction. But yeah, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Zoe, what are you doing, baby? What you doing? What you doing? Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Good girl. Oh. Come here, Zoe Bear. Let you say hi to everybody. Yeah. Poor girl just dying for me to pay attention to her. Alrighty. There you go. That okay? You got, let's see if you got enough surface area there to lay down. There we go. Alrighty. Let's see. Stay curious. This thought for you all. I bought a blacktop telly years ago, but it has these frets that are too wide, medium jumbo. My American Strat has smaller frets that I like, are these tall, narrow frets. I'm with you. I actually like the smaller vintage style frets myself. I think Eddie Van Halen was onto something with that. I'm not a big fan of jumbo frets. Fender always put the great big jumbo frets on the the Highway 1s, the Highway 1 series guitars, and later the Special series, and I think now they're still using the same necks with the same frets on the Performer series guitars. I think those all have jumbo frets on them. I could play them. That won't stop me from buying a guitar. But I'm with you. I prefer the smaller frets. I like the ones that come on the American Standards, the American Pros, the Ultras, all that stuff. Ultras especially, man. God, those are great guitars. Archer says, picked up a Fender JA90 yesterday. I haven't seen one of those in a while. First P90 pickup. Cool, man. Congratulations. Hey, Dave Escobar has joined the soiree. Ronnie Webster is here. Haas Coleman. You guys are all saying show us what's in the box. Let me get caught up in the chat here a little bit. You guys are still... Did I still... Yep, I sure did. Sorry, guys. I forgot to turn the screen capture off. Sorry, dude. Sorry about that. So you guys missed me picking up Zoe to say hi to you guys. There she is. Yeah. Let's see. Show us all in the box. Let me get caught up here. Pedalboards of Doom says, for versatility, I'm in the coil split tap camp. I like coil splits too. I guess that would probably be my preference, but there's something. I still say there's just something about a super strat style guitar with a humbucker in the bridge and a single coil in the neck. So, and maybe even a single coil in the middle if it's there. My opinion. Hey, stop. Come on. Put you down. There you go. Alrighty. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's see what's in the box. Make sure they got it right. Here's my free knife from Evatech, something or other, some clickbait thing that I stumbled onto on Facebook. You paid like $12 in shipping. They send you a free tactical knife. I can't find my old box cutter, utility knife that I used to have laying around here to open boxes with. So for $12, why not? Let's see here. What we got? And Matthew Perkins in the super chat. Thank you very much for some milk bones for Zoe. Cheers. Happy Easter. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. So will Zoe. So will Zoe. She, Lord knows she loves her treats. Alrighty, so in the box. Oh, shit. Again, this is the replacement order because Amazon lost the first one, bastards. We have a Samsung 1 terabyte solid state hard drive. The Samsung QVO. Also have, that's going to be my secondary hard drive. We also have a, like by secondary, I mean the one with the most storage space I'm going to store the most stuff on. This one is a Samsung 970 EVO Plus. That's an what they call an M.2 hard drive. And apparently this thing basically just clamps right down to the motherboard. That's how that works. Let's see. This is the Ripjaws DDR4 RAM stick things. 32 gigs of RAM. And last but not least, I don't know what any of this stuff is, by the way. I just bought what I was told to buy. Is a Corsair, Corsair modular, so it's 750 watt power supply, I believe. Is that what it is? Something like that. I think it's 750 watts, but I think the modular thing is the most important thing on it, so that I can plug in more stuff and unplug other stuff later, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, but that is the power supply for it. That also has lots of flashing, pretty colors on the inside of it. So that's what I got. That's my stuff. And the case. Let's see, the case, the desk, which is part of the computer, obviously, but it's where the computer needs to go. The let's see, the motherboard and the monitor, and I think something else I'm sure I'm forgetting have all got here earlier this week. So now I've got everything. Tony's got a graphics card that he's gonna use graphics card that he's gonna sell me for cheap. That's going in there too. So so that should be all the components that I need to build a PC. Let's see. Guitar Gear Guy, it says Pedalboards of Doom, love your Facebook group. I don't love that group as much as I used to. I posted 2 videos in that group this week and got lambasted for things completely, for videos that I posted 2 years ago. That group's become quite the pretentious bunch of little pricks. Granted, it's all people that are, I think most of the people in that group are all 20 years younger and less mature than me. So, I recognize that probably has a lot to do with it. Why I keep sharing my videos in that group, I don't know why. Let's see. JD Mopar says, "Awesome, Robert didn't even look at those bases." I think you'd like them, man. Especially for, the $500 range. If you don't like the finish, the one I showed you was the TRBX 505. If you don't like those finishes, check the 605, which is the exact same base, but it's got like laminated flame tops on them. It's more colorful finishes, but beyond that, beyond the finish and the laminate top, the specs are all the same. So if you want something that looks a little bit cooler, they're like $100 more or something. Guitar Gear Guy says, "I'm gassing for the new Kramer Dave Mustaine King V. Any better alternatives in your opinion? Looking to spend around $800 to $900 max." There's a lot of great guitars out there. I mean, for V's, I love pointy guitars, but I've kind of got a real love-hate relationship with V-shaped guitars because they're cool and they're fun to play. Play live. Standing up, playing live shows with them. But God, they're the most uncomfortable pains in the ass to sit down and do any kind of productive practice or recording with. You know, I own a couple of V's. I've got an old '90s Korean Epiphone Flying V. I've got a BC Rich Draco V. That one actually is a little bit easier to sit down with, but still, you know, they're I don't, you know, like I said, I've got a real love hate relationship with them. So, you know, as an alternative to the Kramer Dave Mustaine V, I mean, you know, his old Dean V's are still all over the market. You know, you can find those used. You know, and Dean does make a good V-shaped guitar. The BC Rich Junior V's are cool. You know, it just depends on what you're looking for. You know, I don't know all the specs on the Kramer model. You know, I saw the Gibson video. I saw it sitting in a stand off to the side. You know, looks like his old, you know, looks real similar to his old Jackson King V. So, let's see. Yamaha makes good stuff. This is from Dave Escobar. So Yamaha makes good stuff. I was playing my RGX 1220, like the one Rick Emmett Triumph last week. Familiar with these? I don't recall it off the top of my head. Sort of model like a Model 6 or Jackson Soloist Yamaha. Okay, so you know, like a dual humbucker ish, or humbucker on the bridge anyway, neck through super strat kind of guitar. Hey Robert, you still have the camera on your monitor? Yeah, you guys got a pretty good view of my live stream analytics there for 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, again, my apologies. I didn't realize I did that. Ronnie Webster says this may sound like sacrilege, but I prefer the HM3 to the HM2. My first Boss pedal actually was an HM3, and yeah, I remember not liking it. I bought it, and you know, it was, you know, I bought it because it said heavy metal on it. You know, and I was, you know, what was I, 12 years old or something like that at the time. So, you know, it said heavy metal. That's what I was after. You know, and the Metal Zone wasn't out yet, and you know, it still didn't sound like I thought. You know, I still didn't sound like I thought I should sound with it. You know, and then a couple years later, all these other guys, you know, that I'm going to school with are also metal players. Were all, you know, they all sounded like like we should have, and sure enough, they, you know, that was right after the Metal Zone. You know, they bought their Metal Zones before I bought mine, and. So I traded in my HM3 to my local store for a Metal Zone and never looked back. But now I kind of wish I had the HM3 back just for collectability purposes. So at least I think it was an HM3. Late 80s, so I'm sure that's what it was. I remember buying that pedal new. And again, bought it because it said heavy. Or maybe it wasn't. Well, the HM3 is the Hyper Metal. Hell, I don't remember, man. It was 30-some years ago. It said metal on it. That's all I know. It was a black pedal with orange font. Said metal on it. Mr. Blue says a spring/April, a usual time manufacturers raise their prices. I just noticed Marshall raised the price on amps. I just picked up a DSL 20 for $395 shipped on Reverb. Can't wait till it gets here. You know, there's not a rule of any time of year that manufacturers are going to raise their prices. It just kind of happens, you know, based on economics, based on inflation, based on supply and demand. You know, based on production, based on all of those things. And, you know, with COVID last year halting production on just about everything around the world for better part of, you know, at least 3 months, better part of 6 months for a lot of companies. You know, that had a lot to do with it as well. Fender just raised a lot of their price. You know, in fact, I think Fender just raised all of their prices, not by much, but, you know, a tiny little bit. You know, like a guitar that used to sell for $699 is now like $719. It's like $20 more. So, but still, you know, they did have a small price hike. Marshall just recently did the same thing, and those two companies aren't alone. So that's just way of the world. $1,000 doesn't go nearly as far as it used to. Let's see. Joe Trey says the first guitar I ever bought was an RA Pro 2, a blue Strat style with a Floyd Rose. Bought in '87 when I was 15. It was nice. Wish I still had it. JG Mopar says my buddy from the band Lagwagon does online lessons. I guess the guys who were used to touring had to find other ways to survive during the pandemic. I think there's a lot of guys, a lot of men and women that had to start giving online lessons because, well, fortunately there was a new spike, a huge spike in people suddenly wanting to learn an instrument who suddenly had nothing better to do. So. Yeah. Let's see. OG says, phew, no head in the box. Now we get to see Zoe. Yay, happy dog. She is a happy dog. She's a very happy little girl. So me suddenly having to work from home. Me suddenly having to work from home is probably the best thing that ever happened to her. So, Ronnie Webster says M.2 for these ultra high speed access. That was my understanding, according to the little bit of research that I did. What I could tell was, if you can go M.2, go M.2 over solid state. I actually added a solid state drive to this thing. It had one in it from when I bought it. It was a small one. It had like 240 gigs, which that doesn't go very far these days. So I added a 2 terabyte, 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte. I can't remember. Maybe it was just, I think it was maybe a 1 terabyte that I added, but a solid state drive to the inside of it as well. Tony helped me with that, and it'll just, my computer will all of a sudden just not recognize it and quit seeing it every now and again. Like when I go to restart, all of a sudden it'll, that thing will just disappear altogether. And, I figured out that, if I unplug enough shit out of USB ports, then all of a sudden it comes back to life. But, apparently that's a pretty common problem with solid state hard drives. So, this new one's going to have an M.2 and a solid state, but my hope is that is what, and I'll probably add an external drive or 2 or 3 along the way as well. On top of I've got 2 of them on this one, so anyway, what I am hoping is that being that this computer is going to be built from the ground up, that solid state hard drive problem won't be a problem with this one, so. Ronnie Webster says, yeah, once you go modular PSU, you can't go back. That's my hope. Building this thing it's costing me more money than I initially thought it was going to. I thought I was going to be able to get this thing done for, get this thing built for under $1,000. And it turned out when it's all said and done, I've got about 15 in it. And, so I paid a little bit more than I thought I was going to. I'm sure it's, if I bought a Dell or an Acer or something like that has the same specs in it, I'm sure it would still be, a lot more money than that. Maybe, probably 30, 40, 50% more. So, I'm sure I definitely saved a few bucks, but, I think where I really anticipate saving more money is down the road, because when I do need to go to replace something, if I need to upgrade the processor or something like that, I can do it, and just pull it out and pop in a new one and off we go. This one, on the other hand, is I mean, I was able to add a hard drive, but there wasn't anywhere to mount it, so it's literally just kind of laying in there, kind of shoved in there as best we could fit it. And there's not really any way to replace, to upgrade stuff. So, once it's, here probably in another 2 or 3 years, once it's at the end of its life, it's done. So, and it's gonna probably wind up as a Goodwill giveaway or something. I don't know what I'll end up doing with it, but sure somebody will want it. But yeah, they're unfortunately, so that's really kind of the main reason. So, and what I understand is that the upgrades are going to be spending a couple $100 or whatever it is to upgrade something in the future is going to be a lot. Upgrade a component in the future is going to be a lot easier than $500 or $600 for a new CPU altogether. Dave Escobar says GPUs are just ridiculous in their pricing these days due to the data miners. I've heard that, and I've heard a few people talk about it. I don't understand how any of that works. I don't understand why a graphics card is so important with data mining. And not that I'm even all that familiar with what data mining is, but I know that I guess they make actual mining cards, is my understanding. But specifically for mining, but apparently, there's some reason. My buddy Elric, who's got a tech channel, he posted a video about that here in the last couple of weeks, and it's that stuff is a little far over my head, so I'm not. I'm not real up and up on how all that works or what it's about, but apparently there's people making a fair amount of money on it, and then something happens and they stop making money and then they're done. But yeah, so anyway, so Tony's got a used one. Archer says Zoe's barking. Another box came. No more. I haven't gotten any more ring alerts on my phone. Saying that there's somebody at my front door. So I know nobody's out there. So she's likely just barking at a neighbor walking by, walking their. I can usually tell if it's a neighbor walking their dog, because then she really goes ape shit when she sees another dog outside. She wants to be friends with every other dog that she meets. So she's desperate to to make a doggy friend somewhere. Our next door neighbor has a couple of dogs, and so now anytime we let our backyard is fenced in, theirs isn't. So now anytime that we let Zoe out in the backyard, she runs straight over to that side of that side of the yard of that fence and immediately starts barking at the dogs, whether there's anybody out there or not. So she really wants to make friends with every other doggy out there that she sees. Hey, Jim Woodard's here for the and the super chat for the Les Paul Custom. Thank you, sir. And he also scored. Jim texted me earlier this week about he scored a Les Paul standard double cut that that was apparently local to him, and sent me some pictures. It did look pretty sharp. I'm curious, how was it? Is it chambered? Because it was a 2008. I know that. I saw that from the serial number. But did you have the, how chambered is it? I guess was my question with those. I don't know. The Les Paul standards, like I told you, were really, really chambered that year. But I don't know about the double cuts, if that carried over to those or not. Mr. Blue, also in the super chat, says, love the channel. Appreciate all you do, bro. Thank you very, very much to both of you guys, actually. Thank you, both of you, for supporting and supporting what I do. I appreciate it. I enjoy this quite a bit. I'm reading comments here. Some of them I haven't gotten to yet. And like I say, I've I took a beating in a couple of Facebook groups earlier this week. Just trolls being trolls that apparently think I have my videos have a couple of my videos they didn't like have somehow ruined their lives. So, like I said, it's nice to hear, at least some people appreciate me. Let's see. Was that one of the guys that you posted a conversation with in the Guitar Dungeon Facebook group? Was he from Pedalboards of Doom? No, that one actually was from that particular dude has, that guy has lambasted me in multiple groups. Pedalboards of Doom probably at some point, but more specifically, recently, that the screenshots that I shared, those were from Unpopular Guitar Opinions. That's a shit posting group, so I like to have some fun and fuck with those guys every now and again. But that's where those came from. But he's repeated the same thing in Pedalboards of Doom, and he's repeated it one time. He went off on me on Chris Jupiter's personal Facebook page on something Chris posted. Chris was sharing one of my videos on one of his pedals, is what it was, and this dude just had to go and open up his mouth. So yeah, he's got some pretty serious problems, man. I don't know what it is, but I even tried to extend him an olive branch, and I truly did. I truly did. I wanted to figure out why this guy has such a strong resentment towards me, because I really can't wrap my brain around it. But he never did. And by the way, he never did give me a good answer. I haven't decided if I'm gonna make that a know your troll thing or not. But yeah, that every single that conversation I posted, that was all the same guy. So, my first pedal was a Metal Zone, which I still had. Why would anybody get rid of their Metal Zone, man? I've still got my very first one I ever owned. Still running strong. And now, thanks to a viewer, Alan Scherer, actually sent me the Wazacraft version right after it came out, or a few months after it came out, I guess. That one's one of my favorite distortion pedals. John Taylor says just got a 50-watt 5150 combo for $500 and only needed power tubes. Pretty badass. That's not a bad deal at all. I don't know which 5150. I don't know if you're talking PV or if you're talking EVH, but regardless, you buy a new set of 50 watts. That's buy a new pair of power tubes for what, $60, $70, depending on which brand and tube type. Yeah, that's not a bad deal at all. Ronnie Webster says, I saw your video on the Hesher 2.0 not long ago. Speaking of pedals, I had the first version, and it's a pretty kick-ass pedal. Actually, the video that I did on the Hesher was the original version. It's that pedal's got a little bit of history behind it among the boutique guys, because it was originally designed by Tony Peppers, aka Peppers Pedals, and Tony never released it because he just had too much other stuff going on at the time, and never got around to it. So he decided, he took he sent the PCBs, he basically sent it over to the guys at Transmutation Devices. And got a case of one-upsmanship in the super chat. I'll get to that here in a second. But we got, he sent it over to the guys at Transmutation Devices, and so Shay and Mark, the original design of the Hesher was Tony's original design. Well, that ran its course, and they had a few of them left, a few of the boards left, so they sent those back to Tony. And Tony finally released those under, I think they sent 15 of them back to Tony. So Tony built the housings for them, and the graphics, all that stuff, and released 14 of them out into the wild, of which I was fortunate enough to get a hold of one, and I'm assuming kept the last one for himself. So, and that was the end of the Hesher version 1. The Hesher version 2, on the other hand, Shay and Mark designed that one. That was a complete redesign from the ground up. It was all Shay and Mark. So that one is different. And that one I've not heard. Shay and I have talked quite a bit. He's going to try to get one in my hands here at some point because I would like to AB the two back to back together. I think that'd be fun. And plus those guys, they're just great guys. They're cool guys. I like working with the smaller companies like that. I think it's good for everybody. Hobo Roadie in the super chat says play authentic with $1 or more. Mr. Blue says $4.99 says apparently I can't cuss in a super chat, but I still say F the trolls in Facebook too. Well, you can. I hadn't scrolled down that far yet. And if I see somebody that that posts a comment, if it's one of you guys, that posts a comment with a four-letter word in it, it'll show me that this is there. You can approve it, you cannot approve it. You can So usually I'll hit the show button, and if it's one of you guys anyway. If it's a troll, that's a different story. Then those don't get posted, and those losers get blocked. Savanity Guitar says, don't know too much about Guitar Show. Let's set up a booth. In order to set up a booth, you have to have merchandise to sell, and I don't really have anything that I want to sell. I mean, maybe a few things around here, but I don't know what the cost is, or if there's even any spots left. I mean, it's at a fairgrounds out in Danville, Indiana. So a fairgrounds building, and there's only so much space in there. Usually, it's been full every time I've been there. So, I've got a couple of guitars. I decided I'm going to sell, a couple of these guitars that I'm not using that, companies have sent me for demos. Put those towards the Gibson fund. But I want as much for them as I can get too. I don't want to take a hit by selling it to a reseller. So I don't know if it's going to be, for me that's almost an hour drive out there. So. But I would encourage you to go, especially, you being in the area, I'd encourage you to go just so that you can, kind of go out, and it'd be a good chance for you to meet some other people here locally in the community. That's the, and I don't want to wear, I don't get vaccinated until the 27th. So that's another reason I don't know that I want to be around that many people before I get vaccinated, and I sure as hell don't want to wear a mask for 2 or 3 hours on end. That would suck. Oh. And Ronnie Webster in the super chat says you might get hate, but the fact that people are responding to you is just evidence you're doing something right. Yeah, and I think there is something to be said for that as well. At least that's why you're not the first one that said that to me. So I suppose there is some truth to it, but still, it's you got some douchebag that you're truly trying to go back and read everything I said to him. I never said anything crossways to him at all, and if you go back and read everything that I said. I said to him. I mean, I called him a chicken shit because he is. I told him he needs to grow. He needs to be a man, grow up. I did say those things to him after he had, gone out of his way to be a raging asshole to me. But yeah, I mean, it's not like I was just needlessly being a prick. I lost my place again. Give me a minute here, guys. The pandemic has driven up prices for consumer electronics as so many people working from home are doing more gaming since supply can't keep up with demand. Yeah, and it was the same thing in our industry, man. I mean, God, for the longest, I'd be, people would be, calling in, and I primarily, I don't discuss too much about my full time job, because I like to keep those separate. But I sell gear to commercial accounts. So businesses, uh, you know, big churches, mega churches, small churches, government accounts, pro studios, touring artists, bars, restaurants, that kind of stuff. That's who I sell gear to. But during the pandemic, when all that stuff was shut down, the consumer side of the industry skyrocketed to the point that we didn't have enough people that could handle, handle just the call demand. So we were helping out with that side of it for several months, and I mean, it was just inventory problems, things that we never run out of, guitar strings, picks, guitar stands, stuff like that. Stuff like that is, we've got a plethora on hand of, and all that stuff was running out. So I mean, it got to the point. And we walk into a guitar shop right now, and if it doesn't, if your local guitar shop, I don't care what company it is, Guitar Center, Sam Ash, a local mom and pop, I don't care what it is. Walk in there, if it doesn't look like it just got ransacked, then honestly they're doing something wrong and they haven't been selling any gear. So, or they hoarded a bunch of it before the pandemic hit, and Hobarodi says Ronnie Webster, the fact that M.2 is a few centimeters closer to the CPU and that it matters kind of blows my mind. Huh. I didn't realize that was why, that they're supposed to be faster and AKA, are also better, but I suppose it makes sense. Archer says, "Okay, Robert, got to go. Have a great Easter weekend, everyone. Remember, if you don't sin, Jesus died for nothing." I don't think that's what that's what this holiday is about, but not quite sure that's how it works. That's like paying it backwards. I went through the drive-through the other day and leaned in, and got up to the lady, and, to pay, and I said, the car behind me is paying for mine. Give me my food. Cushman NYC says, "Hey man, love your show. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very, very much." Zim's Guitars is here. Welcome to you as well. Jim Woodard says his new Les Paul double cut. You guys ought to see that thing too. Check out their show on. You guys are putting everything on YouTube now, I believe. So if you go check out their YouTube channel, hopefully Jim will show it here in the coming weeks. That's the pictures I saw. It was sharp looking, man. It was really sharp, really good looking guitar. You got a good deal on it too. So. JG Mopar says I bought a Keeley modded Metal Zone years ago. One of my favorite pedals. I always wanted a Keeley modded Metal Zone, but I never did get around to picking one up. Dave Escobar says making a ham tomorrow. More love leftover ham sandwiches and omelets. We are. Let's see. My wife's in charge of all the baking and dessert making and stuff. Uh, I have not been tasked with cooking anything. Because there's only 5 of us, so I've not been tasked with making anything. I think. Not sure what my mother-in-law has planned for. I'm sure it's a meat something or other. I requested beef, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, yeah, I don't know. Kind of like Thanksgiving. I just show up and eat and do what I'm told. But, yeah, no, in the meantime, though, as soon as I'm done here hanging out with you guys, though, I am going to fire up the grill because I bought myself some really, really awesome-looking hamburger patties this week, and I'm going to fire those up this weekend. And... or I'm going to fire those up here probably this afternoon. And I also got me some shrimp, some Patagonia shrimp and sea scallops, and I think I'm going to fire those up this evening. I'm probably gonna cook those in the oven or on the stove. I haven't decided yet, but I love seafood. I love seafood, period. But I love shrimp. I love scallops, lobster, crab. Love shellfish. Ronnie Webster says, yeah, I was just reading that conversation just now, and the guy is clearly just immature and just wanting to start some shit. Yeah, I don't think there's any question that's what he was at. I mean, that dude owns a guitar company too. He's got a guitar. He builds guitars for people on the side. I don't know if they're any good or not. His tastes are clearly a lot different from mine, and that's fine. But still, fucking neck-bearded hipster douchebag. Mikey Gabbard says, look at the amount of amazing fans you have. You're bound to come across a few idiots from time to time. There's no question about that, man. So I was, honestly, I was shocked. I posted it was a simple video about a distortion pedal, and all of a sudden, people start attacking me about clickbait titles and, this, that, and the other. And then they're pissed off about a video I posted 3 years ago. The Fuzz Factory fanboys are still fucking, think I ought to be jailed for that video. I mean, it's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. So, couldn't believe it. I'm still shocked that people, harbor that kind of resentment. God, what a miserable way to live. But it was only in that group that happened. Well, I can't say that. It has happened in other groups before, but that group specifically, just about every time I post a video, those guys lose their freaking minds over something unrelated, other than the fact it has to do with me. Mr. Blue says suggestions on a reverb pedal under $75. It's not under $75, but it is under $100. I would probably suggest you check out the Joyo Atmosphere reverb. I was really, really impressed with that pedal. I think it's $89. So it's only $15 more what you're talking about, but $14, something like that. Get them on Amazon. I posted a video about that pedal. I don't know, probably a year or so ago, maybe not quite. I don't know how long it's been. I guess it's about right. But yeah, check out my video. There's a Amazon. There should be an Amazon link to it there in the description. And yeah, that's probably the direction I would go. If you still don't want to spend that much money on it, then I would tell you check out like some of the TC Electronic, like the Smorgasbord stuff. Like the which ones they have. They've got, I think it's the Sky Surfer reverb. That's probably going to be the one you want. They got the Sky Surfer. They've got one called the Drip, I think, which is just a spring reverb, and then they have the Fluorescence, which is a shimmer reverb. But the Sky Surfer is the one that does I think it does like plate and hall, and there's one other mode on there. So That one's got like 3 different types on it. So that's probably what I would do. JG Mopar says I was going to buy a Mesa Mark 525 when they were $12.99. Just look now, they're $15.99. I was just I talked to, it was the same customer of mine. I had this conversation with him a couple of times yesterday because he's kind of on the fence about what amp he should buy, and he's got he lives in an area that doesn't have a whole lot of music stores, so he's only got access to actually go out and try in person, a very limited amount. So he's picking my brain about, this, that, and, I was like, dude, I think what you ought to, what you're describing, I think what you would, an amp you would really like, you need to check out the Mesa Mark V. So long story short, he was kind of back and forth between the big one, the 90 watt Mark V, and the Mark V 35, and I think the 35 is the one that he settled on for his purposes. I don't know he's bought one yet, but. But yeah, I remember when, I was still at the store when the Mark V's came out, and I think they were $2,000. The heads were $2,000 new. I think now they're like 26 or 27. So they've been out 10 years maybe. Yeah, inflation's not been. I'm sure a lot of that, again, has to do with the pandemic, but, the pandemic didn't cause that amp to go up $700. Ronnie Webster says I'm giving some thought to picking up a few ribeyes and having some steak. I grilled steak a couple of times this week. It was a little too cold on the nights that I did, but I did anyway. The igniter on the Weber that I bought last year went out, so I got to buy a new igniter switch for it. But in the meantime, I still got lighter fluid and a match if I need it. So you can still use the grill. I just got to light it the old-fashioned way. Jim Woodard says, sorry, I was playing Final Fantasy 14 at the same time. So it was very passive. Got a 2008 Les Paul double cut that was a total closet queen, left in a case and never played. I have shot video of the interior. So yeah, go check out Jim's channel, the Practical Guitarist channel, to see Jim's new guitar. I assume that's where he posted it anyway. So it cost me about half the cost of one on Reverb, and still hundreds less than the graph showed. Those closet kept axes are still out there. Just got to set up and at GC, and now move the original strings. That was crazy, et cetera, et cetera. So, and now he's got a new awesome guitar added to his collection. Joe Trey says, seafood rocks. I love fried whole belly clams. So good. Those do sound good. Really about the only shellfish, the only seafood that I can think of that I do not like and I will not eat are oysters. Don't like oysters at all. Never been able to get on board with oysters. But, clams, mussels, crab, lobster, scallops, shrimp, all kinds of shrimp. Most fish. Love seafood. Not big on salmon. I'll eat it, but I don't love it. Not big on salmon just because it's a really strong flavor. Monkfish is, monkfish is inedible. Most every other kind of fish out there that I can get on board with. Ronnie Webster says, I know you're not a massive amp sim guy, but it's insane how far they've come along. I just got to see before this weekend. It sounds incredible. amp sim things are getting a lot more popular. There was a new, I think Neural released an SLO, Soldano SLO amp sim here in the last week, as I saw a lot of the other guys on YouTube that all launched a video on it at the same time. So, I agree, man. They've come a long, long way. They have come a long way, and I do, I have a few amp sims, and they are handy, especially for silent recording. So I mean, it's not like I find them useless. That's not true at all. I think they do have a use. I just prefer using actual amp if I can. OG says, got to bounce, got to pick up steaks and shrimp now. Awesome, man. Well, enjoy your steak and seafood. Let's see. Jim says his video on his new Les Paul double cut will be up tomorrow because he's got to edit the video. And yes, I know editing is not a pain in the ass; it's just time consuming. So I mean, it's part of the process. I do it every week, but there's times that I mean, I've got pedal demos down to a science now. I can. Shoot it. It nowadays it takes me longer to shoot the pedal demo than it does to edit it because not only have I gotten like I said, I've gotten it down to science, and I've gotten pretty good at being able to get what I want on camera recorded pretty easily, and I figured out how to do it with one camera, so I don't have to set up two. So I've been able to get through. Once I get through that process, it's pretty easy. But editing that video, now I can do that in about an hour and a half, depending on how much info I put into it, and if it's an average, what my average pedal, what have been my average pedal demos here lately. Usually about an hour and a half, I can edit that video, but it used to take me 2-3 hours at least. So I've gotten better at that. But anytime I do something a little bit different, then it tends to take some time. Guys, I don't know how Henning Pauly. I don't know how in the hell he finds time to to do what he does, and he's very good at what he does. He is a very, very talented video producer. But if you watch his videos, all of his graphics, all of his transitions, every single thing is different from what he used, than he's ever used in other videos before. Every single time. I don't know how he's. Anytime I try to do something new like that, I mean, that's always real time consuming just to go out and get the files that I need, or learn how to do what I'm trying, a new technique. It takes me some time to research that and learn how to do it in Vegas. So I'm sure he has a lot of that knowledge already on tap, but he's able to do that a lot faster than I am, but still time consuming. Haas Coleman in the super chat says, "Get your axe, man." Thanks, dude. I appreciate that very, very much. That is, that's what that fund is for, and that's where that is going. So, again, thank you very, very, very much. Cushman NYC says, question mark, bunch of question marks. Says, my 12-year-old has his mindset on a Les Paul style guitar. What do you think of Epiphone Les Pauls? Honestly, I think the Epiphone stuff is about as nice right now as it has been in a long time. I think they have, despite any Gibson's deficiencies the last several years, they've had a pretty tumultuous several years here recently. They had some serious quality issues there for about 10 or 15 years prior to that, or including that. But they seem to have. I don't know if they've completely turned the corner, but they are awfully close. They're a lot further along than they were. All of the Epiphone stuff that I've seen here, the last 2 years that have come out, like I said, they are as nice as probably as nice as they've ever been. So I think Epiphone guitars are doing a really, really good job. I think they're much better values than they used to be. Yeah, I would say buy with confidence. Ronnie Webster says 2Notes makes killer products. I've got a torpedo captor and I love that thing. I am going to need a Captor X for my remodeled studio once I get everything set up and done. But that's more money out of my pocket, and that's going to have to wait a little while. So in the meantime, I do still have my captor as well. So there's the old standby, old faithful. That's I was thinking about getting rid of this because out here I have my Torpedo Live, in the rack. So I never use this out here anymore. So I was kind of thinking about selling this and moving it along, and maybe buying a Captor X if I decided I needed it down the road. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and keep this thing too. So this is a handy little device. And it's half the price of the Captor X. So I'll need a Captor X, so I'm gonna have to do that. But Dave Escobar says, "Take it easy. All going to get me some Culver's fish and chips, chips cod plate." A lot of you guys going to eat seafood after this live stream. I love it. I would be surprised if Henning Pauly didn't have an editor. So would I. I don't know. Actually, I think he does a lot of that stuff himself. I don't think he might be paying somebody to edit his videos now, but I don't know. At the same time, he may not be. I mean, he's so good at it on himself. I mean, like I said, he is really, really good at editing at really all aspects of video production. If you're not friends with him on Facebook, he's always posting stuff that he's getting ready, projects that he's getting ready to work on, and it was last night or earlier today. He posted, he's getting ready to go out into a field. He's got a team, and he had whatever it was he was doing required a team of 3 people, so he did have to hire some people for this. But he had like all these real extravagant camera setups he was taking with him, and I know in his studio at home he uses like the Blackmagic cameras, which are really, really good cameras. And I think he just upgraded to a Red camera, which those are $20,000. And that's red cameras are about as pro level as it gets. So, well, I guess $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 Panasonics and stuff are about as pro level as it gets. But the notch right below that would be the Red stuff, and that's what I know he's using one of those now. He's got like 40. He owns like 40 or 50 cameras. So he's of all the guitar channels on YouTube, I don't think anybody is more well versed in the actual video production side of it than Henning Pauly, and his videos show it. So, my videos suck. Mine are barely out. Mine are half the time barely in focus, and I make mistakes mistakes in my guitar playing, among other things, and half the time don't catch them until I'm editing, and don't have time to go back and fix it, and et cetera, et cetera. So GG and stuff says, "What axe you getting?" This, the last couple of months here on my live stream, been talking about I have always wanted a Gibson Les Paul Custom. That's been my dream guitar for most of my life, and I've just decided I'm bound and determined to buy the goddamn thing this year. So, several viewers have been kind enough to kick in a few bucks here and support the channel, and and most of that is strictly to support the channel. But some people have earmarked it specifically, so here, put that towards your guitar. So that's what I'm doing with them, and as best I can. So there's a couple different ways some people are just doing it in the super chat, which is that little dollar icon thing down there below. Some people have been buying some t-shirts, and some people have been just sending it straight to my PayPal account and eliminating the middleman altogether, which you can also do. That link is in the description. So, yep, that is what I'm doing with the support money that you guys are kind enough to support me with. So. Mitchell Tilley says, "Great show, Robert. Going to the Keys in a month or so. Nothing like fresh fish." I've been to the Florida Keys. One time, my wife and I went to we took a cruise on our honeymoon, and the first stop on that cruise was to Key West, and it was so we got to spend a day in Key West, in Key West on the island. It was a beautiful day out there too. That was a great experience. I would like to go back and spend some more time there at a resort, but we'll do that one of these days. Right now, we're still, we're not, right now pretty much every year for our vacation, or every other year that we're able to take a vacation. Obviously, we didn't go anywhere last year, but when we do travel, we've been hooked on going to Cancun. We found a resort that we really really like, and it's been it's become our favorite vacation spot. So, we plan to go back there at the end of the year. Jim Woodard says, referring to Henning, does he work in the film industry? He writes up music too, so I wouldn't be surprised if he did film at least at one time. I think he did. Matter of fact, I think he is. He spent some time after college. I think he spent some time working, at a film production studio, some kind of production studio in L.A. And I think that's where he gained a lot of his experience. So, he spent some time actually living here in the U.S. before he went back home to Germany, is my understanding anyway. So, but I know he's also. I just watched a video of Glenn's this morning, and Glenn said, those two were actually pretty good friends, and he said Henning has actually worked with. Sebastian. He mentioned Sebastian Bach, and there's another big name that he mentioned right after that, and unfortunately I can't recall who it was because I was still half asleep when I was watching this video. But it was another really really big name, like big band, well-known artist. So among others that he's worked with. So. Hobarodi says, I'm saving up for a Red 47 mic pre for guitar. Those are cool. Those are very cool, actually. I wonder if I don't have a mic pre here anywhere in my setup. I've often wondered if I actually need one. The ones that are, the mic pre's in my interface all seem to kind of do the job, but who knows? I don't know. I'm not exactly a diehard studio rat. I'm a guitar guy that records stuff half-assedly. Oh, Jim, you're too kind, dude. You were too kind. Whether or not I deserve, I guess I don't deserve it until I paid for it, really. So, and I haven't done that yet. Mr. Blue says, how much does the middleman take? I think YouTube, if you donate to the super chat, I think YouTube's cuts like 30% or something. So, They do take a chunk, but I mean, I don't look at it that way. I look, a large chunk of something is a hell of a lot better than a large chunk of nothing. So, you know, or as we say, as we say in the sales business, half of something's better than all of nothing. So, I don't look at it that way. I mean, I'm grateful for all of it, regardless of who gets a cut from it now on, or who gets a cut from it from whatever side, and that's the world we live in. That's how a lot of companies make their money doing that, and I'm not gonna say that they shouldn't do so, but there's a that's just the way it works. So, like I said, I'm grateful for all of it. JD Mopar says, when you get the Les Paul, you have to play Stairway to Heaven and Sweet Child of Mine. I know most of Stairway to Heaven, and I know the main riff, like the opening riff to Sweet Child. I think I sat down and tried to learn the solo once and got frustrated and walked away from it because Slash's soloing techniques, man, I found that, anytime I've ever tried to learn a Slash solo, now he plays really, really fast, and unlike me, like when my solos, I mean, I've got a riff that I use fairly often, and I like to repeat that, over and over for, a quarter of a bar, half a bar, whatever it is, just because I like the effect that produces. I think it's, I probably inherited that from, that's the Ace Frehley inside of me, and Kirk Hammett, both, and among others, Zach Wild, those guys all like to do that. And those are all among my favorite guitar players. Slash, on the other hand, he does that on occasion, but whereas if you're playing like a minor pentatonic scale or something, and most people will automatically go to the note that your middle finger would hit here, he goes to the note that your pinky, closest to your pinky, which is really, really awkward and unorthodox for me. It's he's got a really, really strange style. And I remember, matter of fact, I remember sitting down with Vincent learning a solo one time, and Vincent's, we're going through it, we're trying to find the notes. Vincent's writing it down, and he stops about halfway through it, shakes his head, goes, "Man, he plays some weird notes." And so I mean, it's always stuff that's in the scale. It's musically sound, obviously, but from a technique standpoint, it's kind of awkward and not at all what I think most people, even blues players and rock players, and I think what comes natural for this hand for a lot of people. My opinion. Yeah, I think Slash is a pretty unique guitar player, man. He gets a lot of hate. I don't understand why. Dude can play well. Joe Trey says, I met the girl who got hit in the face with a beer bottle by Sebastian Bach when he played in Springfield, Massachusetts with Skid Row. God, I forgot all about that story. Yeah, that was not one of his more shining moments. He's a really, really talented front man. He's a great singer, great performer. I like Sebastian Bach. I'm a fan, but he's a high strung dude. Man, he's not like actual Rose high strung, but he's a high strung dude, and he's, JG Mopar says, I thought those were the two songs banned in guitar stores. They are. Well, I don't. My experience, the list of songs that are banned in guitar stores is a lot longer than Stairway and Sweet Child of Mine. Pretty much anything off. That expands into like the first. Anything off the first 5 Metallica records. Oh man, what else? Oh, let's see. think Stranglehold, Ted Nugent was on that list at one point. I don't know. Ironically, it's all stuff that I love, which pisses me off that guitar store employees ban it. Under the table, ban it anyway. Obviously, if a customer comes in and starts playing that stuff, they're not gonna pull the Wayne's World on them. Get deep shit for that, but let's see. Mike Jones says, "Yeah, I agree. Even Kirk Hammett has some unique take on the pentatonic box and bleeding me." Kirk Hammett, I think, has some pretty he's a much better. That's another guy that gets a lot of hate that I've never understood, man. I mean, God, that guy can play some things that I've never even dreamed of being able to play. Some of his solos, especially got the solos on the first on Ride the Lightning. Well, ain't really all the first 4 albums. Whether he wrote them or not. I mean, there's. They're very, very, very difficult to play. I've been trying to play that ending solo to Fade to Black for decades, and I still can't do it. I haven't tried in a while. I mean, I wonder if maybe I haven't, I wonder if I haven't advanced enough over the last couple of years that I might be able to tackle it now, but I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. I love Kirk Hammett, man. I think he's a great guitar player. I don't understand why he gets so much hate. Yeah, he likes his wah pedal. So what? So does Slash. So what? Timothy Plonk said, "Great players getting hate, jealousy maybe." That's the only thing I can figure, man. I don't understand. Why. I don't understand I can't think of anybody. Any guitar player that I have any kind of serious disdain for. Just based strictly on their guitar playing. And based on the songs that they've recorded and albums that they put. I don't understand that emotion towards a guitar player, period. There's a few people out there I don't like them because I think they're assholes. I think, I've seen them, pull some pretty huge dick moves on other people that has really turned me off of them. But that's that's on them as individuals, not as guitar players. I don't understand. You don't like somebody's playing fine. I mean, there's, I get it, but you don't have to like every single musician, everybody's music that's out there. That's okay, but to receive the hate that Kirk Hammett has received for being a lead guitar player in the most popular heavy metal band to ever tread this planet, by the way. Kirk Hammett is that guy. There is one guy in the world that gets to claim that that gets that to say that was their career. I played lead guitar for the most popular heavy metal band in history. There is one guy on the planet that gets to claim that, and that is Kirk Hammett. Why he gets as much hate as he does, and he's the nicest guy in the world too. I mean, dude's never said a cross word about anybody. Of the 4 members of Metallica, he's the happy-go-lucky hippie. I mean, man, I'm gonna start a campaign. Leave Kirk alone. Cushman says, "Got to run. Love your show. Got to start cooking." But, whoa, well, we're going on 2.5 hours. I got to get going myself. Mitchell Tilley says they say he only uses pentatonic scales. If you're talking about Kirk Hammett, that's not true at all. He uses pentatonic, he uses minor, he uses Phrygian. I think he uses Dorian from time to time. I don't think Kirk Hammett doesn't use minor pentatonic or even major pentatonic very often at all. Tober Rhodey says, my friend Lynette met Kirk Hammett when he was at her work and said that he was strikingly nice. I figure that helps to be successful. They want to book you again, etc. Yeah. Yeah, I've never heard about Kirk Hammett or James Hetfield for that matter. I've never heard about either one of those guys being assholes to anybody. Lars, different story, but even then, I don't think Lars is as bad of a guy as people like to make him out to be. I saw a video of him, 6 months or so ago that there was a guy that was probably, I don't know, a guy's probably in his 30s, and I think he may have had some kind of mental disability, but the guy was a huge Metallica fan, and Lars Ulrich was that dude's absolute favorite musician on the planet, and he got the opportunity to go backstage and hang out with Lars before a show. Lars let him play his drum kit. Lars, Lars made this guy, feel like the most important guy on the planet, and I thought that was really, really cool of him. When I saw Metallica a couple of years ago, you guys know I've bragged left and right every opportunity I got that I got to see my all-time favorite band, my heroes, from front row and center. I mean, practically right up against the barricade. And after the show, after they were done playing, they came out. Usually when bands are done, they toss a few picks out into the crowd. 30 seconds later, once their pick holders on their mic stands are empty, they're gone. Not these guys. They went. Their crew brought them all, cups full, like souvenir cups full of guitar picks. And they walked around. This is in an arena, so, the stage is right in the middle. They're walking around. They're tossing huge handfuls of picks out and they did this for 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, they wanted to make sure as many people as many people as possible could get, had a chance to get a guitar pick or something. And so, I'm diving for guitar picks, and I did get one. Threw my back out in the process because I was 41 years old at the time. Yeah, it was a painful experience, but it was worth it. So I did get my guitar pick, and in the process, Lars is also tossing out, because they're throwing out James's picks, they're throwing out Kirk's picks, and Lars is also tossing out drumsticks. Well, there was, but amidst all of this stuff, after I finally had my guitar pick in my hand, I stood back up. It was a little bit further back from the barricade at this point, and in the meantime, there was a guy that had been standing pretty close to me for most of the show, had a 6-year-old boy up on his shoulders. And, he was a little bit farther back from the barricade, pretty close to me. Lars came up to him, and, this kid was, scrambling. He wanted that drumstick, right? So this kid, Lars came up to the barricade, and he was getting ready to toss it out, toss it to the kid, and realized what was going to happen. So he reached his hand into the crowd and then pulled it back when everybody else tried to grab him, and he pointed to that kid and said, "These are for him." And he handed that 6-year-old little boy these were not the drumsticks that he was just tossed out in the crowd. These were the pair that he was using for the show. He wanted to make sure that little 6-year-old boy got those and nobody else. So. Pretty cool, man. Lars is not the asshole that a lot of people like to think that he is. I don't think. So, Majestic PB&J Cat says, I think Kirk gets hate because there are a lot of players out there that can play circles around him. I love Metallica, and Kirk is a good dude. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating at all. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's the greatest guitar player on the planet. There's certainly people out there that are better than he is, but that doesn't mean he sucks. I mean, he's still pretty good. He's still a really, really good guitar player. Jim Woodard says, I hope to think that kid plays drums now. Well, assuming he's, that he'd be 8 years old now, so hopefully he's got himself his first drum kit, and I hope he's not using those sticks. I hope he's setting those off to the side. JG Mopar says, lunchtime, I have to run. Have a great weekend. Thanks for a great live stream, Robert. I got to run as well, guys. again, also thank you all for a great Saturday live stream. Video goes up tomorrow morning, I think noon Eastern time. I don't remember. So keep your eyes on your YouTube alerts, and don't forget to check that out when the time comes. And I'm out. Adios. See you later. Bye.